That's so true. That's why you'll see some boards. You're like, why the hell is this person on here? And it's like, oh, this person's connected to everyone possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Theranos, they had all these government officials on there, like Henry Kissinger. I think they had a general on there. And I was like, oh, they know all the policymakers here who can
Mm-hmm.
move things around.
Yeah, they can
Um,
make introductions. They can get you in front of people. They can give you credibility.
exactly. That's why SBF's is the imp, his colleague, the one who believes that like we should have Chinese harems or something for like CEOs, whatever. The imp, the female, she was a woman. She was connected to her dad, who was like connected to the SEC chairman, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I wonder why she's involved in here. Okay, so let's go on to the Elon Musk lawsuit. This is hilarious.
Part ways with Elon. So there's a personal.
Elon chose to part ways.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna go back real quick.
There's personal stuff here. That there was a split. That OpenAI and a lot of amazing people here chose to part ways with Elon. So there's a personal.
Elon chose to part ways.
Did you see how quickly he jumped in there? He was like, hey, like, get your effing story correct here.
Yes, he wanted to correct the record. But also, Lex is doing the classic interviewer thing where in the course of asking a question, you make a whole bunch of implied statements.
Mm-hmm.
No, stop doing that. Just ask the question.
Exactly. It's loaded. And it also, because Lex loves Elon so much, he just can't compute that Elon's playing games here. It's hilarious. It's like, what is this, cognitive dissonance? There's some people on Twitter who are like, I love Sam, but I love Elon, but I can't understand why Elon's doing this. It must be something Sam's doing wrong. So we'll continue.
Can you describe that exactly?
Okay, so sorry, I just paused this and we'll continue. He's like, can you describe that exactly? It's like, did you read Elon's lawsuit and did you read the rebuttal? Like, it explains like line for line where Elon is playing games. Like, this is hilarious.
The choosing to part ways.
He thought OpenAI was going to fail. He wanted total control to sort of turn it around. We wanted to keep going in the direction that now has become OpenAI. He also wanted Tesla to be able to build an AGI effort. At various times, he wanted to make OpenAI into a for-profit company that he could have control of or have it merge with Tesla. We didn't want to do that, and he decided to leave, which that's fine.
So you're saying, and that's one of the things that the blog post says, is that he wanted OpenAI to be basically acquired by Tesla.
Yeah.
In the same way that, or maybe something similar, or maybe something more dramatic than the partnership with Microsoft.
My memory is the proposal was just like, yeah, get acquired by Tesla and have Tesla have full control over it. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
So what is the word open in OpenAI mean to Elon at the time? Ilya has talked about this in the email exchanges and all this kind of stuff. What does it mean to you at the time? What does it mean to you now?
I would definitely pick speaking of going back with an oracle, I'd pick a different name. One of the things that I think OpenAI is doing that is the most important of everything that we're doing is putting powerful technology in the hands of people for free as a public good. We don't run ads on our free version. We don't monetize it in other ways. We just say it's part of our mission. We want to put increasingly powerful tools in the hands of people for free and get them to use them. And I think that kind of open is really important to our mission. I think if you give people great tools and teach them to use them, or don't even teach them, they'll figure it out, and let them go build an incredible future for each other with that, that's a big deal. So if we can keep putting like free or low cost, or free and low cost, powerful AI tools out in the world, I think that's a huge deal for how we fulfill the mission. Open source or not, yeah, I think we should open source some stuff and not other stuff. It does become this like religious battle line where nuance is hard to have, but I think nuance is the right answer.
What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
I was kind of caught off guard when he said he would have chosen a different name in retrospect. I think Lex missed a huge opportunity to say, oh, what name would you have chosen and why? That would have told us how Sam is thinking now. I mean, Sam's trying to describe it, but it would have been more succinct to just say, what kind of name would you have chosen?
Exactly. That's where you want to dive in right there. That would explain everything. And also, huge thing, I want to get Annie Duke on here. Everyone gets their glorious purity ring, and then right next to it is the hindsight bias ring. Where they're all like, oh, everyone knew since GPT-1 that this would become what GPT-4 is. Society all knew this. This is a foregone conclusion. Mm-hmm. So you should have named it Close AI from the start. Like Sam, that's another founder game is what founders want to do too, is they don't want to come out and say like, hey, a lot of this is like effing luck. Like we didn't expect like this to like blow up. I mean, they worked hard. Don't get me wrong. It's 50. I think it's
Yeah, I mean, investors like venture capitalists make many bets, and they hope that 1 or 2 out of 30 really hit.
so true. And this
I
thing,
mean, that's perfect Annie Duke, right? She would say, well, you got a bet. The probability of a good outcome is small, but the size of the good outcome is so big that if you have enough diversity of bets, that is enough number of such bets, you can win.
exactly. And startups have that ethos on how they run their products too. They look at features saying, oh, like, well, yeah, some customers can bitch here, but I think we're going to be able to jump into a gigantic market and there's a huge upside. Let's go for it. And then large companies completely invert it. They're like, oh, well, we could get something really big, but 2 customers are going to be pissed, so we better not do anything or lock this into freaking AI ethics review for 7 years. So it's just a completely different ethos. Let me continue playing it.
So he said, change your name to Closed AI and I'll drop the lawsuit. I mean, is it going to become this battleground in the land of memes about
I
the
think
name?
that speaks to the seriousness with which Elon means the lawsuit. And yeah, I mean, that's like an astonishing thing to say, I think. Like,
Well, I don't think the lawsuit, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the lawsuit is legally serious. It's more to make a point.
Okay, so Lex, like when you're working Elon shaft, like you can't go too hard, or you're gonna kill him or something, and it's just not good, and he might bleed
Dude,
out.
this is a family
So,
show. How many
I know
times do I have to remind
I
you?
know, but like, okay, the whole point of a lawsuit is something is legally serious.
Well,
If not,
he is admitting that it's frivolous.
yeah, but like, but the whole thing is like then you're clogging up the court system and wasting society's resources on bullshit, and also you're then distracting OpenAI from actually pushing together this tech that's going to better society. Like, what kind of fucking just tweet? Then just tweet. It should be closed AI. I'm a bitch. Don't start using society's legal resources and waste the court's time with this crap. I don't buy. But go ahead, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah. It's also sad because, Elon just went through a different kind of lawsuit that had a really bad outcome, but I personally think was totally unfair and probably ill-advised. But
Which one was that?
the one with the state of Delaware, well, it's not to the state Supreme Court yet, but it's with one of the Delaware judges.
Oh, that's bullshit. They gotten rid of his compensation. That was stupid. He earned that money. But yeah, you're right, Joe. I agree with you. Good.
And my attitude to that was, what a ridiculous decision. And hopefully it's overturned by the Delaware State Court. If it's not, they are seriously risking their monopoly on incorporations. But anyway, my reaction to that was completely muted by this frivolous lawsuit from Elon. I'm like, on the one hand, I feel like the court system is shafting him and putting him through this appeal process, but then he's going to go and file something like this. It's clearly just a nuisance lawsuit. It's pathetic. Let's get back to work.
Hell yeah. No, exactly. Let's go.
About the future of AGI and the company that's currently leading the way. So,
look, I mean, Grok had not open sourced anything until people pointed out it was a little bit hypocritical, and then he announced that Grok will open source things this week. I don't think open source versus not is what this is really about for him.
well, we'll talk about open source and not. I do think maybe criticizing the competition is great. Just talking a little shit, that's great. But friendly competition versus like, I personally hate lawsuits.
Yeah, look, I think this whole thing is like unbecoming of a builder, and I respect Elon as one of the great builders of our time. And I know he knows what it's like to have like haters attack him, and it makes me extra sad he's doing it to us.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest builders of all time.
Okay. Greatest builder of all time. I mean, you really working that shaft again. I actually, if you're saying the greatest builder of all time, I think he's net positive. What he's doing SpaceX is fantastic, but greatest builder of all time. Let's take a look here. I asked ChatGPT, who are the greatest creators of all time? I didn't say builder. And it said art.
Didn't you have asked Grok?
I should have asked Grok, but then like friggin' I had to go through all of the Elon crank sucking posts on X. I just don't want to deal with that today. Art, Leonardo da Vinci, Renaissance, Van Gogh, Michelangelo. Literature, William Shakespeare. Science, Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, and Charles Darwin. Music, Ludwig van Beethoven, technology, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs, Nikola Tesla, Tim Berners-Lee. I didn't know who Tim Berners-Lee is. Interesting, World Wide Web. Then I asked who are the greatest scientists of all time and who are the greatest industrial builders of all time. Andrew Carnegie for what he did for American Steel, John D. Rockefeller, oil, Henry Ford with the car, Isambard Kingdom Brunel, a British engineer. Brunel is known for his groundbreaking designs in shipbuilding, railroads, bridges during the Industrial Revolution. Andrew Krupp, German industrialist. Krupp developed the family steel production. Vanderbilt, who went also into philanthropy and best known for his railroad development. Gustav Eiffel, French engineer who did the Eiffel Tower. Lex, you gotta go easy here on Elon. Like he's not, I can't say he's the greatest of all time. Like God, my God.
I thought Sam's formulation was good. He basically just said it's, he respects Elon as a builder.
Yeah.
And this lawsuit is unbecoming. That was a very nice way of phrasing it. Succinct, to the point, nailed it.
Exactly. No, it's so true. It's beneath him.
Potentially the greatest builder of all time.
It makes me sad. And I think it makes a lot of people sad. Like there's a lot of people who really looked up to him for a long time and said this. I said, in some interview or something that I missed the old Elon, and the number of messages I got being like that exactly encapsulates how I feel.
I think he should just win. He should just make Grok beat GPT, and then GPT beats Grok, and it's just a competition, and it's beautiful for everybody. But on the question of open source, do you think there's a lot of companies playing with this idea? It's quite interesting. I would say Meta, surprisingly, has led the way on this, or at least took the first step in the game of chess of really open sourcing the model. Of course, it's not the state of the art model, but open sourcing Llama, and Google is flirting with the idea of open sourcing a smaller version. What are the pros and cons of open sourcing? Have you played around with this idea?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a place for open source models, particularly smaller models that people can run locally. I think there's huge demand for. I think there will be some open source models. There will be some closed source models. It won't be unlike other ecosystems in that way.
I listened to All In podcast talking about this lawsuit and all that kind of stuff, and they were more concerned about the precedent of going from nonprofit to this cap for profit. What precedent this sets for other startups? Is that something?
I would heavily discourage any startup that was thinking about starting as a nonprofit and adding a for-profit arm later. I'd heavily discourage them from doing that. I don't think we'll set a precedent here.
Okay, so most startups should go just
for sure. And again, if we knew what was going to happen, we would have done that too.
Well, in theory, if you dance beautifully here, you could. There's some tax incentives or whatever.
No, there isn't. I've spoken to CPAs on this shit. People understand how the fucking tax code works and get tired of this bullshit. What they're doing, nonprofits have done before. They've done this where they've raised a lot of money and they want to go into cancer research. They're well, probably best thing for us to do is create VC investments, or for cystic fibrosis, create VC investments. And then one of them hits and makes tons of money. But that doesn't change. There are rules on the books that prevent what their people are talking about from happening. But Lex Fridman, All In podcasters, regurgitating what Elon Musk says.
But I don't think that's how most people think about these things.
So it's not possible to save a lot of money for a startup if you do it this way.
No, I think there's laws that would make that pretty difficult.
And we just released some exclusive content for our Patreon supporters. $5 gets you in. Go to patreon.com/SVIC. That's SVIC. So we finished 3 videos this week. We were busy. One video on how acquisitions work at large tech companies. So if you ever wondered, these companies acquire other companies, why do they do this? How does it work? What happens to the people? Do they get assimilated like a Borg? Maybe they get assimilated like a Borg. Well, you won't know unless you go to patreon.com/SVIC and watch the video. We also did breaking down the latest in AI agents from mobile apps to OS integration. There's a lot of great stuff happening in the AI agent space. It's happening rapidly. Then we did another video on enhancing script writing with LLMs and miniaturizing LLMs without losing performance. So covered a lot of great research. All 3 videos have free previews over at patreon.com/SVIC. And we also host them on YouTube. So you go to patreon.com/SVIC. You try a demo of it. If you like it and you want to spend $5 on us to support us to keep the show going, because we need to keep things going, you keep the lights on and whatnot. My dogs need dog food. And then you sign up. And then you can either watch it on Patreon or you get a link to it on YouTube, and you can watch both versions ad-free. So you have 3 episodes worth of content waiting for you there right now. Scurry off and go sign up.
Where do you hope this goes?
Okay, I want to get to GPT-5 now. Or actually...
Thank God.
I know. Okay, I know. Sometimes we have to just... The cross we bear for everyone here.
When is GPT-5 coming out again?
I don't know. That's the honest answer.
Oh, that's the honest answer. Is it blink twice if it's this year?
These questions are really stupid.
I also...
The show's
we will
stupid
release
too.
an amazing new model this year. I don't know what we'll call it.
So that goes to the question of like, what's the way we release this thing?
We'll release over in the coming months many different things. I think they'll be very cool. I think before we talk about like a GPT-5 like model called that or not called that, or a little bit worse or a little bit better than what you'd expect from a GPT-5, I think we have a lot of other important things to release.
I don't know what to expect from GPT-5. You're making me nervous and excited. What are some of the biggest challenges and bottlenecks to overcome for whatever it ends up being called, but let's call it GPT-5? Just interesting to ask. Is it on the compute side? Is it on the technical
It's
side?
always all of these. I was, what's the one big unlock? Is it a bigger computer? Is it like a new secret? Is it something else? It's all of these things together. Like the thing that OpenAI, I think, does really well. This is actually an original Ilya quote that I'm going to butcher, but it's something like, we multiply 200 medium-sized things together into one giant thing.
So there's this distributed constant innovation happening.
Yeah.
So even on the technical side, like
Especially on the technical side.
so like even like detailed approaches, like detailed aspects of every. How does that work with different disparate teams and so on? Like how do the medium-sized things become one whole giant transformer? How does this?
There's a few people who have to like think about putting the whole thing together, but a lot of people try to keep most of the picture in their head.
Oh, like the individual teams, individual contributors try to
At a high level. Yeah. You don't know exactly how every piece works, of course, but one thing I generally believe is that it's sometimes useful to zoom out and look at the entire map. And I think this is true for like a technical problem. I think this is true for like innovating in business. But things come together in surprising ways, and having an understanding of that whole picture, even if most of the time you're operating in the weeds in one area, pays off with surprising insights. In fact, one of the things that I used to have, and I think was super valuable, was I used to have like a good map of that, all of the frontier, or most of the frontiers in the tech industry. And I could sometimes see these connections or new things that were possible that if I were only, deep in one area, I wouldn't be able to like have the idea for, because I wouldn't have all the data. And I don't really have that much anymore. I'm like super deep now. But I know that it's a valuable thing.
Any thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, I like the way he's describing it. I also think Lex missed an important point in what he said. You can make all these improvements in the models. It doesn't mean that one is necessarily going to be branded GPT-5. So he's basically saying, look, we can put together a bunch of interesting things. We might decide to call it GPT 4.5, right? Or GPT double plus good, or some other weird suffix. But he's saying that if he thinks the accumulation of new ideas is an improvement, but not big enough to treat it as a huge leap, like from 3 to 4, that he might brand it differently. And that generally what's happening inside the company is lots of people are making lots of improvements that hopefully are independent enough they can be added together or combined, and that's why their steps are so big, and that he's waiting to accumulate enough of them that he could brand something GPT-5.
Right. So it's like GPT 3.5 Turbo or Ultra or whatnot. But before he goes to a 5 or a Nest Hub Gemini Max Ultra 365 Service Pack 2 Essentials, he's going to make sure it's like something worthy.
So there's a branding problem, right? It's not a matter of, someone in the back room makes some significant breakthrough. It's a whole bunch of interesting improvements that can be combined to provide something that's qualitatively different.
Exactly.
And that's what the Ilya quote was really driving at, even though he might have butchered it. You can imagine Ilya explaining it to somebody. There's so many innovations and they're combined in an interesting way. And instead of being separate quantitative improvements, they become a qualitative improvement that you can feel when you use the product.
Exactly. Like there's definitely a different feel from GPT-3 to GPT-4. Like you just feel like you're talking to a better level of intelligence. Let's go to this one right here on GPT-4.
Hard to say that looking forwards.
We never know. That's the annoying thing about the future. It's hard to predict. But for me, looking back, GPT-4, ChatGPT is pretty damn impressive, like historically impressive. So allow me to ask, what's been the most impressive capabilities of GPT-4 to you and GPT-4 Turbo?
I think it kind of sucks.
Typical human also. I'm used to an awesome thing.
No, I think it is an amazing thing. But relative to where we need to get to and where I believe we will get to, at the time of like GPT-3, people are like, oh, this is amazing. This is this like marvel of technology. And it was. But now we have GPT-4, and you look at GPT-3 and you're like, that's unimaginably horrible. I expect that the delta between 5 and 4 will be the same as between 4 and 3. And I think it is our job to live a few years in the future and remember that the tools we have now are going to kind of suck looking backwards at them. And that's how we make sure the future is better.
What are the most glorious ways in that GPT-4 sucks? Meaning,
What are the best things it can do?
what are the best things it can do, and the limits of those best things that allow you to say it sucks, therefore gives you inspiration and hope for the future.
One thing I've been using it for more recently is sort of like a brainstorming partner.
Yep.
And
for that,
there's a glimmer of something amazing in there. I don't think it gets, when people talk about it, what it does, they're like, oh, it helps me code more productively. It helps me write more faster and better. It helps me, translate from this language to another. All these like amazing things. But there's something about the like kind of creative brainstorming partner. I need to come up with a name for this thing. I need to like think about this problem in a different way. I'm not sure what to do here. That I think like gives a glimpse of something I hope to see more of. One of the other things that you can see like a very small glimpse of is when I can help on longer horizon tasks. Break down something into multiple steps, maybe like execute some of the steps, search the internet, write code, whatever, put that together. When that works, which is not very often, it's like very magical.
I gotta run, but I want to hear your thoughts on this because I have some thoughts too. Any thoughts on what he said there, Joe?
I think he's again articulating this idea of what I would call a marketing step. He's basically saying the same step you saw from 3 to 4, that's the kind of step we want before we call it 5. And again, I don't know why, but Lex didn't seem to quite separate the marketing step from the technical effort. He seems to think they're the same.
That's a good point, and yeah, you can't distinguish that. And his thoughts on looking at it as a thought partner is genius, and I forget it can do that. Like, what I do sometimes, I have it take screenshots of our YouTube channel or screenshots of just like our Patreon page, and I say like, "What do you think?" And it will just start consulting me. You should think about doing this and that, and it's a very foreign concept. I still don't realize that I have the world's greatest business consultant thought partner here, and I can access it at any time. And my mind is used to that. And so, anyways, hope you all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. Peace.